Diane, David, can you give me a clear idea of exactly what the local enterprise partnership here in Gloucestershire does?
The GFirst Local Enterprise Partnership is very much about driving business forward and our Gloucestershire economy forward, with business being at its epicentre, but also having great connectivity with our public sector partners.
Yeah, up until now, am I being really unfair to say perhaps that message hasn't got through to business?
We try very hard through all sorts of different types of communication to get the message across, and in the next few months we'll be trying even harder via our website, via social media, and obviously via the likes of Gloucestershire media, hopefully, to spread the word and the message as to how we all in Gloucestershire have to work together to make Gloucestershire a great place to be, but also trying to get money from government to grow business here.
Yeah. It's always a challenge communicating with business, isn't it, Ian? You know that. But our business membership group has access to 16,000 businesses in the county. We've got 300 people signed up as ambassadors, 150 people sat on our sector group. So we think we've made a great start, but that's not to say we're complacent. We don't want more and more businesses involved in the story.
Now today, is it something of a relaunch? It's your third year. That's not being unfair, but you've got some quite big news today, haven't you? That a lot of people probably won't know about a lot more government money coming into Gloucestershire.
Central government has really got behind local enterprise partnerships since the budget in April and since the Heseltine report, for those that haven't heard about it, no stone unturned, whose recommendations were that central government should start devolving money in a more local way, and they have made the vehicle for that local enterprise partnerships.
And David, what does this mean in monetary terms? Is it about £45 million conceivably over the next year?
It could be something like that in the long run for Gloucestershire. Heseltine talked about £80 billion that he wanted devolved down to localities. And for Gloucestershire, if it was at that level, it would be around about £45 to £50 million for the county. And the real challenge for us now, and it's not for us as the local enterprise partnership, but for the whole business community of Gloucestershire and the public sector, is to get a plan together that we can convince government to invest that money here rather than elsewhere in the country.
Okay. Now the plan to get the money, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
When has the plan got to be done, and when do you expect to get the money?
We'll be going to talk to ministers in February of next year with a completed plan to make our pitch for Gloucestershire, to make the case for why they should be investing in the county that we know is great and vibrant and has a strong economy. The money then comes in two tranches: European money from April 2014 and UK money from April 2015.
Do you know what levels of those monies will be? Like, what would be the EU level of money into Gloucestershire?
That would be around about £5 million a year or thereabouts. The UK money could be anything between £20 million a year and £50 million a year.
So this is a lot of money. This is the first time we've had real money for growth in the county.
Absolutely, and it's the first time that we are all having to do a business plan together. That's not just our businesses, it's all the partners in Gloucestershire. And we have a real competitive edge to this. We've got to bid for this, and we've got to prove to central government that we are going to do what we say we are going to do.
And can we do it?
We certainly can, and that's exactly what Heseltine said. He said, you have got to be up for this, you've got to go and fight for your rights.
Now you're up for it, and you've got a great track record in business, Diane, but is everyone up for it? I get a feeling a lot of business haven't got a clue what's going on.
We are blessed with a lot of small, medium enterprises in Gloucestershire who are also fighting for their own survival and up till now probably haven't wanted to get involved. This is now an opportunity for everybody to understand that there is an opportunity for them to help, firstly, but also be empowered alongside the local enterprise partnership to make a difference.
Okay. Now, one of the exciting things, David, to me about this plan is what I'd call in headline terms, a corridor for growth. Can you tell me something about that idea?
One of the great strengths we've got in the county is the M5 corridor, and we know that there's huge opportunity right along that corridor from Junction 9 in the north with the redevelopment of Ashchurch down to Junction 13 and the Business Park corridor into Stroud. In between there, you've got Junction 10 being Always, you've got Junction 11 and the Gloucestershire Airport, you've got 11A and Gloucester Business Park, and you've got 12 and Javelin Park. And we think there's huge potential for growth, both of jobs, so employment land, but also residential in those areas. And that's one of the schemes that we're starting to explore and that we want feedback on.
Now, how would that work then? You would in effect try and replicate the sort of success of something like Gloucester Business Park, both in the firms and the jobs there, is that correct? Would you create other parks like that?
It would be about making sure that each of those junctions had its own unique identity and its own spirit and its own culture and its own vibrancy, both in economic and in housing terms. But it would also be about making sure that hung together for Gloucestershire as a whole. So really creating growth centred on those motorway junctions, which is our key transport infrastructure in the county.
Now that's exciting, but how, if I'm running a relatively small business in Gloucestershire, how can I get input into that? Because I think one of the criticisms in the past is people have not understood how they can get involved.
One of the very easy ways is through our ambassador scheme. The ambassador website has just been relaunched, so it's user-friendly, more importantly business-friendly, and it really gives an opportunity for businesses to sign up and to join in. And everybody has something to give.
That's absolutely brilliant. And David, is that something that's going to work though? You know, a lot of businesses are fighting hard to stay in, to survive, aren't they?
Yeah.
How can we convince them that they need to put energy and ideas into your sort of thinking?
But some of that's already happening. So, we've got a very passionate board of directors for the Local Enterprise Partnership, all of whom give their time absolutely free of charge and spend huge amounts of time and energy in driving forward the agenda. Our sector group chairs and sector group members, again, are working really hard to drive forward their sectors. But we've got to galvanise more businesses than that and give them the opportunity to get involved. And we're going to be making sure over the next 12 months, as we develop the business plan for growth for Gloucestershire, that we use as many routes to market as we possibly can. We use the local media, we use Twitter, we use the website, we use our ambassadors, our sector groups, our business membership group. We use all of those routes and more to get people involved, give people the opportunity to have their say.
Now, have you got the support of all the councils? Because obviously there's politics, isn't there? We live with politics, we know that. There are different district councils in Gloucestershire. Some of those want more say. How do you keep them on board? How do you encourage them to join in your vision?
We actively have a pre-board meeting with all the CEOs and leaders of the districts and the county every month now, leading up until the submission of all this business plan for Gloucestershire. They are all actively involved. Some of them already sit on the board at board level. We have observers from both the leaders and CEOs sitting at board level now to ensure there is clear communication and the ability for us both to communicate to each other what we all want for Gloucestershire.
And Diane, have they bought into it?
Absolutely, and I'm thrilled that it's working swimmingly well.
Well, isn't that a big thing?
Huge, and this is coming out of business and actually not seeing the bridge before. I think that is one of the things that is truly happening now. The bridge is being built and nothing could please me more.
That's brilliant. Now, you've got your annual report out today, and I'm just looking at a draft of this at the moment, so I'm just going to ask you some questions as a result of it. It's succinct, it's to the point, and in your summary I'm looking at a line which talks about this report highlights some of the tangible achievements that we all played a part in making happen. Now, I think that's what people are really interested in, isn't it? What has been achieved so far?
I think there's also a piece in about, this isn't the LEP making these achievements, it's everybody in Gloucestershire contributing towards these achievements, whether that be the business input from the sector groups that are actually giving their time for free. That's an achievement in itself. It's not just about numbers now, it's about actually working together for the long term.
So apprenticeships, for instance, which we've been involved in with
Absolutely.
Gloucestershire College, you wouldn't say that was all your work.
Not
You'd
at
say
all.
that other people were contributing.
Absolutely right. We wouldn't be doing any of this. The LEP is here as the strategic body to help galvanise Gloucestershire to work together. not just with apprenticeships, but with the skills sector generally.
Absolutely. Now, those 3 points, I'd call it the vision. You've got 3 things here. Promotion, a quality of working life recognised as the best in Europe. Skills, a highly employable and economically productive population. Connection, which we talked about a lot. And infrastructure that supports economic growth. Is that the mantra? Is that the real vision?
It certainly is, and we have published our vision after consulting with many people, our businesses, our board, our sector groups and districts and the county council, to make sure that they were happy with that vision, and we have their full buy-in.
Yeah. Now, the other thing people would be interested in is your sector groups, and I don't think this has got through this message. And I'm not being critical, but can I just say who they are? You've got Advanced Engineering, chaired by Steve Hawkins of Move. Banking, chaired by David Goodall of Barclays and Andrew Willett from HSBC. The Business Membership Group, chaired by Richard Jeffries. Business and Professional by Ruth Dooley of Hazelwoods. Construction and Infrastructure, Robin Butler of Mosquera, I think.
That's
right.
That's correct.
Creative Industries Chair, Donna Rennie, of course, of the festivals. Energy Chair is Paul Bolton. The ICT, Ian Bourne. Land Base, Sir Henry Errors, obviously the former Lord Lieutenant. Logistics Chair, Mark Ryan. Mark's at the airport.
Yeah.
Retail by Nigel Jobson, of course, your former
Supergroup colleague.
Supergroup colleague. And Tourism Chair, of course, we all know Rob Rees. Now, I'm looking through what the report is saying about these groups, but looking through the annual report, and it is impressive what these sector groups have done. They've devoted, according to your report, about 2,500 hours, man-woman hours, to this. I think a lot of business would say, this is fantastic, but what have they achieved? Now, I think one of the big issues for me is the communication of that. Can you tell me how you're going to do that, and what are they doing?
In terms of the sector chairs and their sector groups are there as spokespeople for their sectors, so to speak, and they're constantly feeding up and down through their own contacts for advanced engineering, for example, to find out where there are gaps in skills, for example, to use apprentices and as something you mentioned earlier. And that's worked particularly well with advanced engineering because they did, in conjunction with Gloucestershire County Council, the Schools 2013 Challenge, which was about trying to get to
2013 primary school children understanding the importance of science, technology, engineering and maths. And in the first 2 months, with the support of the Advanced Engineering Group, that smashed its target and did 2,500 young people in our primary schools who now have more of an understanding of what's a really important sector for Gloucestershire in advanced engineering. And we're fast heading towards 4,000 primary children that will have had that experience. So it's those very practical steps that the sector groups are taking, and there are other examples. The retail group with its toolkit for the high street, the tourism group looking at £4.5 million worth of promotion globally for Cotswolds. There are examples of real practical steps, practical things that those sector groups are doing to improve their sectors.
Yeah. Again, I suppose it comes round to this word that really we're all talking about. One word is communication of this, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's how we spread that down. The LEP will never be able to communicate with everybody. We're reliant on other people to spread the word. And that's partly why we have our sector groups, to spread that word. It's partly why we're appealing to the media and to do things on from a social network point of view, is we've got to get that message out to as many people as possible.
Do you need also the councils to play their part a bit more?
Absolutely.
Do you accept that if I'm the leader of a district council in Gloucestershire, I want my bit of this?
And they're absolutely right to think that they want their bit of that. The fact is it has to fit in with everybody else, and we have to listen to everybody's wanting and actually try and help everybody. It isn't just about the LEP. This is about everybody working together.
Talking about working together, one of the big things to me for Gloucestershire is the crisis in retail, and this is not just in our county. Now, you more than anyone know this because you're on the government's, and I'll get this right, you're on the Task and Finish group, which sounds highly official. of the government's Future High Streets Forum.
That's correct.
Now, one of the biggest things to me in this county is the demise of retail. How are we going to encourage our Gloucester particularly, especially our market towns, to survive here? Now, what can be done? You're the expert, you've got all the background, but
No pressure then.
how can we take this forward, Diane? Because this is there, isn't it? We all see it, housewives see it, they see it every day. But wouldn't it be brilliant if you can mastermind something in Gloucestershire with the LEP on this?
As you know, one of my passions, apart from Gloucestershire, is around retail, and I fully intend to put Gloucestershire on the map and in the front line of the resurrecting the high street. I was actually in London yesterday and have brought back some really good news for Cirencester and for Colford, actually, which we are going to trial our toolkit, which we published on behalf of government at the end of March. And we're actually going to be working with the Association of Town Centre Management to help Colford and Cirencester work their way through that and prove that our toolkit does work. It's a great, great spotlight for Gloucestershire to prove that retail can work and high streets can work. But what is true is that high streets are changing. They're not just about retail anymore, they're about high street communities.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. I'm just looking through this report again.
And I think, if I may say that's a great example of how LEPs can make a difference, is that we do have a voice at central government.
So just going back on that, and I'm not asking you to say things that you don't want to say at the moment, but for instance, someone like Colford in the Forest of Dean really challenged.
Yes.
What could you do there? What would you intend to do there?
Well, yet again, it's about self-help, but because of our retail sector group, which has identified the issues in our market towns and in places like Colford, we have a representative from the Forest sitting on that retail sector group who is aware of their very specific problems and will lead this piece for Colford that we've identified with central government.
Right. That's great. I'm also interested in the report, some of the did you know facts, and I think these are quite interesting. There's one I'm interested in here. Out of the 39 LEPs in England, Gloucestershire is ranked number 2 behind London for having the greatest proportion of employees in export-intensive companies.
And it's a great opportunity, actually, for Gloucestershire.
It's actually number 1.
Number 1?
Yeah. It's at the same
So
level
it's
as
changed
London.
quickly.
No, it's at the same level as London.
Right.
So we have as many people employed in export-intensive industries as London, higher than any other area in the UK.
Why is that?
I think if you look at the history of the county's economy, we've got very strong advanced engineering businesses here. We've got very strong small creative industries businesses here, lots of whom see their prime market as export. Our biggest private sector employer in the county is Renishaw.
Yes.
The vast majority of what they do is exported out of the UK.
Absolutely.
Huge opportunity for Gloucestershire to grow export.
How are you going to use companies like Renishaw, Messier Doughty, big exporters, to showcase Gloucestershire as you go on? Because those companies, as you rightly say, most of their market is export. It's theirs, they're developing it. But how are you going to encourage others to follow suit?
I think there's a huge opportunity around actually educating our small medium enterprises or empowering our small medium enterprises that export isn't as tricky as it first appears. There again, yesterday in London at Westminster with the UKTI, I'm talking to them specifically about how we can help small medium enterprises in Gloucestershire, and for them UKTI not just to be concentrating on the big businesses. So we're working from the top down and the bottom up.
So if I'm a small company, UKTI of course based in Bristol, aren't they?
The southwest region
Yes.
is, but I decided to go to the top.
Right. And have you got any news on that? What sort of things could they help us
I think
with?
that this particular piece is about influencing and actually saying you mustn't forget the regions. It's no good pumping all your money into the big economic hubs. You must actually look at places like Gloucestershire and look at their SMEs and help them.
Yeah. David, can I just ask you about GFirst? Most people will understand that GFirst was the economic driver for the county council. Can you just explain to people who don't understand this why you're actually called GFirst LEP now?
Because GFirst LEP is the local enterprise partnership for Gloucestershire. It's the organisation and the body that was always a partnership of the private and the public sector, probably with more sway on the public sector than the private sector historically. They put the proposal in, and it's now is the local enterprise partnership. So it's a transformation of what was an organisation that has a long history dating back 15 years into a local enterprise partnership.
So to everyone, it's the local enterprise partnership, but it's run by GFirst, correct?
GFirst is the local enterprise partnership. It's one and the same thing.
One and the same. So how should we be calling it in the future?
GFirst Local Enterprise Partnership would be the correct terminology.
Right.
And it is a community interest company.
Right.
So working for the community.
Right. And you're the chief executive.
Yep.
What about other board members? You've got a couple of board members like who've retired, haven't you?
We've got our retiring board member Michael Tripp.
Yes, who headed up Ecclesiastical.
Who headed up
didn't he?
Ecclesiastical. We have actually got an announcement to make there to a new board member,
Right.
Dr. Claire Mould.
Right.
And I don't know her exact
Claire's
title.
chief executive of Open House, the charity organisation that helps young people in Stroud.
Right.
She's also chair of the Voluntary and Community Sector Alliance in Gloucestershire, which is the independent body that oversees the whole of the voluntary and community sector right across the county.
Right. So this is an exciting day for you, Diane. Do you think, am I right in thinking that you think there's now some light at the end of the tunnel here because of the government's enthusiasm for LEPs?
There's very much light at the end of the tunnel. All I will say, it's a very long tunnel, and we're talking about a 5 to 7 year plan here. It's no overnight fix, but what we have got is an immediate opportunity to start changing things.
Okay, thank you.